This week's Culture Trumpet podcast is sponsored by absolutely no one. Surely that can't be right.
Well, announcer Dan, that is exactly correct. The boys are doing this for absolutely nothing. For free. Gratis. So if you are listening, please give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a share, check out our Patreon if you fancy something like that. But as I said, absolutely free. Anyway, let's start the show. It's time for the Culture Trumpet podcast. Please welcome your hosts, Dan.
Alright, Boyle, tidy.
And the other one, Mark.
Hey up, Chuck. Make us brew.
So, Series 4, Episode 2.
Yes.
If you missed Episode 1, that was a recap of our Culture Trumpet 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that seemed... I still think that's a silly way to start Series 4, but Mark does that, not me.
Yeah, well, it was the first one of the year, was it not? So,
Actually, yeah, you're right, it was. But it was a look back of the previous year, so for me it should have been a
Yeah.
finale, not a...
a look back, a fresh start.
Okay. Whatever you want it to be.
You're not going to win this argument.
No, I am not going to win that argument. You're correct, because you're older and you're wiser, and I'm reading that off the script. There we are, moving on.
I'm more belligerent, pedantic.
Correct. I didn't think I could meet anybody more pedantic than myself, and then I met you.
Well, there you go, you see. I'm happy to prove you wrong. Right then, so this week we are going to do this thing of trying not to go too topical, because literally I just said the word this week, and that might fill some people with the hope/dread that we're going to be weekly. We're not going to be weekly. We're still going to be intermittent.
I thought you said still going to be intimate then. I was like, whoa, what's this going on here?
But the whole keeping it topical thing is great, but also massively stressful, because then there's a particular pressure to record it every so often, get it edited quickly, etc., etc. So
And
I think as we...
Sorry, just to interject and add to that, we've got to remember, as per our sponsor message at the beginning of the podcast, which at this point Mark still hasn't listened to, we do this for free. We're not sponsored, obviously, otherwise it might be a bit better than what we do. We fit it in around lives, other work for starters, other commitments that we have. It's a bit of fun. I like talking to Mark about stuff that I enjoy, and there's obviously the mutual interest of what we talk about. That's the point. That's why we're doing it.
Exactly. So, yeah, we're not. It's kind of our new approach, which is not to focus too heavily on the topical stuff, and to go more with like a specific topic each episode, right? Having said that, what's the latest news?
I love how we've completely broken our mission statement straight away.
One episode in, here we go.
But Matt raises a really good point about, it would be wrong for us not to sort of at least try and keep up some topicalness about it. So if you listen to it in the future, you'll go, that was January 2023 or whatever. I don't know. Major news to hit this week that I noticed. Fans of Rick and Morty may have seen this as well. Justin Roiland, who I think is co-creator. Maybe.
Yes.
He's also a writer. He voices Rick, he voices Morty, he voices everybody else. Has been sacked from Adult Swim. Well, they've parted ways. That's the wording that's being used in the marketing spiel.
Yeah.
Because he has been charged, yet to be convicted, but he's been charged with false imprisonment and battery.
Yes.
So...
Hang on a minute. Are you saying he's charged his battery?
Oh, dear, Mark. What a terrible, terrible joke.
Sorry.
But yeah, so Rick and Morty has been said it's going to continue, but they'll be recasting Roiland's characters.
Yep.
And
Which is basically Rick and Morty.
Well, yeah, but it also Mr. Meekseeks and a lot of everyone else. But the bit that I take away from this is, right, they've made a stand. Clearly, Roiland's entangled in some real legal issues, and fair play for them to take a stand. However, Daniel Harmon doesn't have the cleanest of sheets, does he either?
No, he got some criticism, didn't he? Was that from Community? Was that his...
It was Community. He wasn't... Well, I don't know much about Community other than Chevy Chase was a bit
Yeah,
Let's not
same
use the
here, to be
words, but
honest.
Harmon has come under stick with when the whole James Gunn thing blew up about his previous tweets and stuff. There was a certain skit that came out from Harmon, which was horrific. I'm not going to go into it, but if you want to Google it. But there's certain things that I think Harmon has done and has said that could have got him sacked, but didn't. But I guess there was no legal charges for it. It was just terrible, terrible taste. So maybe it's that. But I did think it wasn't hypocritical. That's the wrong word to use. But I did feel it was a bit, okay.
A bit of double standards.
Bit double standards. That's the right word. But granted, if he's, if Royland is convicted of this, then fair enough, sack him.
Yeah,
But
yeah, and I think I wasn't expecting it necessarily, just because he is one of the co-creators, and he voices most of the main characters, or certainly the lead characters, and a lot of the other ones.
Right.
So I was actually impressed that
they took a stand.
That they did what they did. That they actually properly just got rid of him, because as the co-creator, that's obviously. It's not like you're just getting rid of one of the actors, right? You're getting rid of one of the people who created the show, and the voice,
A big writer, and
the main voice.
there's royalties associated with stuff like this, and
sure, and
yeah.
I'm sure he will be compensated. But the fact they just did that, I think, is actually quite impressive. In terms of revoicing or recasting, you go online and you will find every man and his dog can do Rick and Morty impressions. So I don't think they'll have too much trouble getting new voice actors to replace them. But yeah, interesting, because the network put in an order, I think, a couple of years ago for 70 episodes.
Something like that. I know they said it's going to run to series 10.
Yeah, and they're in.
6?
I mean, they've finished season 6, and they are, I think, 20 or 30 episodes into that 70 episode order. So there's still plenty to go. So at least the show's still going. At least they're committing to the show, and so that's good. That's good. Okay, so that's news. There's also been some Oscar nominations have just been announced.
Yep.
However, I've not had a look at them all, and I can't be asked. What I am,
there goes
what
the
I am,
idea of me pitching an Oscar special when it comes out, but no way am I going to sit down and watch all these films.
Oh yeah, afterwards we can dissect and debate that afterwards, absolutely. But at this stage, the only thing I'm glad to see is that Everything Everywhere All at Once is getting lots of nominations.
Rightfully so. Although the one I did see, which I don't think I'm getting the category correct, it might have been either cinematography or something, I don't know. Which isn't nominated is Top Gun Maverick. They filmed with IMAXs in planes. Why has that not been?
And neither is The Batman as well. That's not been nominated.
Oh, move on, Mark. Move on.
Either. However, there's been some interesting omissions as well as inclusions, but yeah, it's had. Michelle Yeoh has been nominated for Best Actress, obviously. There's been Robert Cross. I can't find his fucking name now.
See, we did our research, and to be more concise, we researched this before we talked about it.
We can edit this bit.
No edits.
So there's Michelle Yeoh's been nominated for Best Actress, obviously. Ke Huy Quan has been nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Good.
Jamie Lee Curtis and Stephanie Hugh, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce that name, have both been nominated for Best Supporting Actress, which is interesting because that's two performances in the same film directly up against each other. That'll be interesting. But it's also for Best Picture, Best Director for the Daniels, Costume Design, Editing, Original Song Score, and Screenplay. I think that's the most nominations of any film this year.
It'd be nice if it did walk it, because it was a good movie.
Oh, I would love it to. I mean, in Best Picture, there's stuff like The Banshees of Inisherin, which is really good. There's All Quiet on the Western Front, which I haven't seen yet. Avatar 2 somehow is Best Picture nomination. Yeah, I don't know. Top Gun.
I still haven't seen it, and we were.
Me neither, but I just don't.
My wife and I were like, "Should we watch it on the weekend? Oh, let's go do this, let's do that." And I went, "I haven't seen Avatar."
Yeah, Rick's been nominated for Best Film.
Elvis has as well, isn't it?
Elvis has. So there's some interesting nominations. There's some interesting omissions. We'll see. I think afterwards, let's talk do in detail after this ceremony and everything, and then we can have a proper grumble.
The thing is, though, will there be an equivalent of the slap this year? Probably not.
Probably not. No, I think everyone will be kept at arm's length and they'll
straight jacketed into their seats.
Basically, yep. Yeah. No jokes will be allowed whatsoever.
Will Smith has a police car pull outside his house. You staying in, Mr. Smith? Oh, yes, I am this year.
Yeah. No, that'll be. We'll see. We'll see. So, our topic then, our actual topic this week.
This is something we've had on the paper digital paper, because we do all the things by the cloud. We've had this listed for, probably since we started, actually, when we were coming up with ideas of shit to talk about. And we finally got around to it because we changed the format, so that's cool.
Hooray.
Go on, Mark, you introduce the topic after I give the context. Go on.
Well, it's amazing technology, right?
Do you want to do that again without, like, shagging around in your chair, making all clicks and shit?
It's amazing technology.
Don't do it again.
So the topic this week is technology, amazing technology, life-changing technology.
Nothing boring like pacemakers and shit like that, though, is it?
Fuck that. It's some, from like just the stuff you couldn't live without, maybe literally pacemakers, to stuff that just gets on your tits constantly.
Cool.
But in general, just like what technology have we just found incredible?
Okay.
Well, over the years, it doesn't necessarily have to be new technology. It could just be something that's been around for a long time. But again, we just couldn't imagine life without it now, for example.
Right.
Shall we, before we move on to that, shall we wet our whistle with a little technology quiz?
I mean, we could. Well, this could go horribly wrong. We
just
could
to get in the mood.
Get terrible scores, and I'm looking at me here in the mirror. And then everybody go, well, why are they going to talk about technology? They clearly know nothing. But I'm more than happy to try and give it a go. Yes.
All right. Okay.
It's Dan versus Mark. It's Dan versus Mark.
And it's a quiz time. Right. So usual format, 5 questions with 5 either correct or incorrect answers. And yeah, that's about it, really. We do this every now and again. I usually end up crying in a corner after it.
Would you like to ask the first question?
Do you know, I would absolutely love to, because I got my questions ready to go. Okay, question 1 for you, Mark. Who founded Google?
Am I allowed to search for that on Bing?
I thought you disconnected then. No.
Larry somebody and Sergey somebody.
I mean, I didn't even know Larry and Sergey when researching this.
Is it Larry Brin? No. Is it Sergey Brin?
Yes.
Go on. Is it Sergey Brin?
Yeah, it is.
And Larry... I don't know.
I mean, I'll absolutely... You did more than I did researching this. Like, you got it better than I did. So I'm still going to only give you half a point.
Okay.
But it's Larry Page and Sergey Brin.
Larry Page.
I'm still impressed, though, mate. That's really good.
Thank you. Okay, my turn. Siri was launched as a standalone app for the iPhone in February 2008. How soon after that did Apple buy the company? Because it's not an original Apple product.
That doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
So how long did it take them to buy the company / app?
Can I have the is it in minutes? Is it in seconds? Can I have the unit? I think that's a fair question.
I mean, well, we're talking multiples of years.
Okay. So 2008 it launched.
Yep.
Trying to think back now to when I remember having it on a device of some description. I'm going 3. I think it's 2, but it's probably more likely 3.
Is that your final answer?
I don't feel it should be with your comment, but I haven't got a better one. So 2008, 9, 10. Yeah, 3 years.
2.
Bollocks. I should have.
I did give you the opportunity.
You did, but okay. The listeners will know that I was in the right area, and that's okay. All right. Good question.
Yeah,
okay, number 2. 2 for you. How many CEOs has Microsoft had?
Oh. Right.
That's not a number.
I'm thinking it's 3 or 4. I'm thinking Bill Gates, possibly Paul Allen, was that his name? Steve Ballmer, and the guy who's there at the minute, I've forgotten his name. 3.
Correct. And I was going to give you extra points for naming them, but you named the majority. The one you're missing is Satya Nadella.
That's the one.
So he's the guy who is currently there, in post.
Yeah.
And yet you're absolutely right. Bill Gates, who founded it with Paul Allen, he wasn't a CEO.
That's right. Yeah, I knew he was there. I wasn't sure if he was ever CEO.
Steve Ballmer, absolutely right. One of the best stage presences you will ever see. Sweating his tits off, bouncing around the stage. He could get you riled up for anything. And Satya Nadella, who has been there, Christ, I don't know.
Oh, he must have been there at least 10 years, I think, now.
Awesome. Fair play, you got that well.
Super.
Some of the things Nadella has done, I disagreed with. But there we are,
Yes, there we go. That's usually the case, though, isn't it? With any new broom comes in and sweeps away the...
what do you think about... actually, in other sort of news, to go back, Microsoft laid off thousands of employees recently. So had I known that, I wouldn't have included this question.
Well, fair enough. Okay. My turn. Right then. What was the name of the personal assistant on Windows Phone?
Cortana.
Correct.
Yeah, got one.
Yeah. Windows Phone was fantastic. I had Windows Phone.
My wife had a Windows Phone whilst I was at university, and we were doing a programming module. And I can't remember the language what it was, but it's been Visual Basic, and I deployed it to her phone and I got extra marks because it was working. But then I had a Windows Phone when I worked for a certain firm, and it was testing a certain operating system that hadn't come out at that point, and it was cack.
Yeah, they really fucked it. Basically, the Windows Phone 7 and 8 were brilliant, and after that, I knew. It's a shame that was the operating system that it really tried to do something different.
Yeah,
and it was really neat and clever, visually like nothing else.
But I think they were doing what Apple have done very well. I hate saying that. My skin's crawling saying that Apple have done something well. And that is the OS that you use on your MacBook is the OS you're using on your phone. And
that's what they were
seamless. For. Exactly.
Yeah.
But there we are. Whatever, right?
Oh, well.
Everyone's got an Android or an iPhone anyway, so who cares?
They have.
Okay, sticking with Microsoft by accident, actually. What was the code name for the Xbox 360?
Xenon.
Correct. How'd you guess that?
Because I'm trying to remember what the other ones were. Scarlet was
the Xbox One.
No, that was Xbox Series X.
Was it?
No, Xbox One X was Scarlet. Scorpio was Series X.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Scorpio's the one that sticks in my head.
Yeah, that would, and I've got a couple of books on. There's a couple of really good books. I'll link them in the description of the episode about the creation of the Xbox and I think Xbox 360, the history of them.
Okay.
Interviews with all the people involved, really interesting. And I'll also link. There's a fantastic series on the Xbox, the official Xbox YouTube channel from last year. A full, I think, 6-part, maybe not 6, but a multi-part documentary series about the history of the Xbox.
Had I known you knew this much about Xbox, I would not have included this question at all.
Which I will also link to. That is genuinely a really interesting series. Again, very honest and open, even though it's Microsoft produced, very honest and open about the problems they had and internal fights, etc. Bringing the original Xbox to market.
Very good.
Anyway, very good. Right, question 3 for you from me. What does the word laser stand for?
Oh, you bastard. I did include this in my quiz, but I read it. Oh, I don't remember reading the answer. Oh, I wish I had included it now because I could just read my answer.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Not a clue.
Light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation.
Ooh, no chance.
So anyone who spells laser with a Z,
Wrong.
saying it's the American spelling, they're wrong because it's an abbreviation. Anyway, your turn.
Okay, we're moving to a competitor now, moving to Sony.
Ugh.
How many PlayStation 2s were sold as of July 2022? And I would like your answer to the closest million, please.
Are we talking in millions? Are we talking triple figures?
Yes.
And it's to the nearest million.
Yeah.
350 million.
Oh, you're way off. I'm not even going to give you another chance. So obviously it was discontinued long before July 22.
Yeah.
But the figure, which was reported by Statistica, I can't remember what it was. It's 158 million.
Oh, okay.
So, you doubled it. Fair play.
Although, PlayStation 2, actually, that was when Xbox One, the original Xbox came out. So that's like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay. Okie dokie. Right then. Who invented the World Wide Web?
Sir Tim Berners-Lee.
Oh, very good.
Someone's been
You're
to
doing well this time.
Software Engineering University. Don't know what laser is, but I know who invented the WWWs. What I like, sorry, while we're on that, because we'll come on to it of tech you just physically can't live without, and obviously the internet is one of them.
Yeah.
And this is proper generalising here, and I apologise in advance. If Mr. Lee, Sir Tim, wasn't British, do you think it would have been free? Do you think it would have been sold for millions? I don't know. Let's pick a currency. I don't know, dollars maybe.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily about his nationality. It was where he worked. So he worked. Bear with me.
We'll just cut this out because I look like a dick now.
That's all right. No. It's.
Because I'm always curious. In America, everyone wants to make a buck, right?
Yeah. So he worked at CERN, which is the European Organization for Nuclear Research. And I think CERN is the abbreviation of the French name for that. So it wasn't that he was English. I think it's just the fact that he did it while he was working there.
Right.
And so it was part of their thing, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And as a European organization, it just became something that is then made available. He wasn't working. If he was an English guy working at IBM and invented it there, might be a different story.
Maybe that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
But thank Christ it was at CERN.
Yeah, basically it was a non-governmental, non-profit organization that was there for the kind of general advancement of science and all that kind of thing. So it's a very valid question. We're lucky because obviously the internet came out of ARPANET, which was a joint thing between the US military and universities, right? So the military wanted a national computer network that would withstand attacks to one or more of its nodes. And if very, very potted history, but I think basically that they got universities involved in helping them develop it.
Mm.
So because it was partly a university thing as well, it was then used for education. It was then like an open platform, essentially.
It's bonkers to think.
Um,
So it went to general public on the 23rd of August 1991. So it's bonkers to think that what we take for granted now is only 30 years old. Like, it doesn't seem that long ago.
Well, again, that's the World Wide Web. The
Sure.
internet has been around for a lot longer than that.
Right.
That was the internet in its early form has been around since the 60s at
So
least.
what was your question? Was it who invented the World Wide Web or the internet?
The World Wide Web.
Oh, I'm glad I listened to that properly at the time.
Yeah.
What a clutch from me there.
But yeah, so you're right. I think your question in general terms is a valid one. We're very lucky that, and we'll get onto this, I'm sure, but we're very lucky that these major parts of the internet, whether it's the infrastructure and standards as a whole that underlie the whole thing, or elements that sit on top of it, like the World Wide Web, were created by organizations that didn't have profit as their driver. They were created by people and organizations who were either completely scientifically minded and just like everything should be free for everyone, or at least they were looking at advancement for advancement's sake and for the better, for what can this do for people, not just how much money can we make out of it.
Well, I always enjoy coming to one of your lectures, so thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Cool. No, really fascinating. I like doing quizzes and we talk about this stuff because you tend to learn something, because I'm not the brightest, you may have guessed that. But
believe it or not, we're still actually partway through the quiz. We have more questions to go.
Okay, so question 5 to bring your very valiant effort to a close. ByteDance, or ByteDance, depending where you live, is a Chinese internet technology company headquartered in Beijing.
Yep.
That is most famously...
Can I interrupt you, or do you want me to just let you finish the question?
I was halfway through my question.
I'll let you finish. Go on.
ByteDance, or Dance, depending on where you live, is a Chinese internet
finish,
technology...
not start from scratch.
ByteDance, or Dance, depending on where you live, is a Chinese internet technology company headquartered in Beijing that is most famously the owner of what mega popular software media platform?
Oh, you finished. TikTok.
Nah, you're wrong. It's Instagram. Yeah, of course it is.
Okay.
That'll teach you for interrupting me, because I will drag it out as long as I possibly can.
What does ADSL stand for?
Something system. I think. Do you know? I didn't do a networking degree. Oh, is it asymmetric digital subscriber line?
Almost. Asynchronous digital subscriber
I think you'll
line.
find the Wikipedia says asymmetric.
Does it now?
Yeah. I'm wrong regardless, it doesn't matter, but you should probably check your facts and listen to a reputable source like Wikipedia, Mark. Finally killed him, ladies and gentlemen.
Asymmetric, asynchronous. Okay.
I mean, I've clicked on a few links that now say asymmetric.
It may well be that I've written that down wrong. I will let you off. Yes, asynchronous.
I mean, I still got it wrong.
Oh well, I have found one site that's. Hang on a minute. Did you say asymmetric?
I did, but I googled it cheating.
Asymmetric, yeah. They do all say asymmetric. That's fine. I will give you that one. Yes.
I'm not having the point. I cheated.
Oh.
I'm admitting to you that I was
right.
like,
You're not having the point. Then what do you fucking think it is? Fucking hell. Right then. I wasn't keeping track there.
I see. I'm an honest person. What can I say? Oh, you weren't keeping track? Well, I definitely got 4 out of 5. So I was keeping track because I'm a good host, and you got 3.5 out of the possible 5. So good effort.
Okay. What did you get?
I probably got 4. Probably.
Probably.
Read through the questions again.
Siri, you didn't get that one.
No, I got a year out.
You got Cortana.
Yep.
You didn't get Laser.
No.
You got Tim Berners-Lee.
Yep.
You didn't get ADSL.
Cool. I got 2 out of 5.
Yay! I win again.
At
Right.
least I can count. There we are.
It's time for topic or topics of the week.
So, technology is the subject. I guess we've covered the internet a bit, right? I think it's safe to say we can't really live without that now.
Yeah, and I don't think we need to go into it any more than it's
Mm.
amazing. Even washing machines can connect to them these days to a degree, or at least uses a protocol that can. You know what I mean? Like it can. Yeah, bonkers.
Yeah, absolutely.
But obviously, what the internet has done has given a connectivity to things that were never connected in the first place. So
Yeah.
the first thing, I mean, it's quite down on our list of things that we were going to talk about. The Internet of Things.
Yes.
Discuss. I don't know. I don't use it personally in terms of like a smart. Like I'm a Samsung user. There's a Smart Things app. Was it the IFFT? But that sort of thing, building routines via the internet, via smart devices.
Yeah, I guess there's different things, isn't there? There's like your connected devices, like smart home, for example, where you can control lighting and heating and so on from an app. That can be handy. I can do my heating, so if I'm on the way home, I'm going to be home in half an hour, and I can put the heating on and things like
Right.
that.
So that is a convenience to you.
Hmm.
What, again, we sort of jumped the gun a bit, but what smart devices have also enabled disabled people who can't get up to turn on a light, but they have a voice, they can use their voice to something. So it's convenient for lazy people like me and Mark, but it has been life-changing to certain people, which I think
Absolutely
is awesome.
Yeah, like the voice assistants, you're right. So things like now Siri and Google Assistant and so on, where you can control your phone, your TV, computer, whatever, using voice. So if you can't use your hands or you have restricted mobility, absolute life changer, definitely. No, without a doubt, yeah. Things like, I guess, again, around the smart home, so things like doorbells with the cameras built in for added security, that you can monitor when you're away from home.
Well, what we're doing here is we're listing a bunch of things that we like connecting to the internet. So what we could do
Yeah.
is drill down into certain things that you've got there. So let's start with you said assistants, voice assistants. So the two big ones in the market are Siri for Apple devices, and you've got Google Assistant for mobile phones in Android. But the other one, which we don't really talk about, is, I'm not going to say her name in case anybody's listening to, Amanda in our house sometimes. Because she's always listening.
She is. Yeah.
First of all, do you use any of them?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. My kids both have the Amazon product.
Okay. It's a good way of putting it.
Which they use, for like bedtime stories and
Nice.
audiobooks and things like that. For
So-
stuff like that, it's
Forgive me. So the Amazon product is the parent in this scenario you're talking
yes, yeah, basically.
about? Apologies.
But that's handy because it can be controlled by the app, right? So, so I can turn it off remotely.
Sure. You can obviously put them to bed, do the parenting job, and then, like you say, put this on as background noise potentially. And then once you know they're asleep but the story's still going, you can knock it off remotely without disturbing them. That's really, really good.
Yeah, very handy. There's other people, obviously, if you have the app on your phone, so on, you can tie it together. So, for example, I know a lot of people might have one in the kitchen and they'll just add something they'll tell it to add something to a shopping list. And then the app on the phone, it will then appear on their shopping list in the app when they go to the supermarket, right? Stuff like that is handy, I guess. You've then also got the assistants or the versions of them rather that come with screens.
Mhm.
So if you can look up a recipe and it'll play a YouTube video, for example, or stuff like that. So
I've had both the Echo Dot things,
mm,
and I had an Amazon Show, which is one of the originals that you had on the screen.
hmm
Now I found that the dots were fine. 9 times out of 10, I hooked them up to a sound system so they could play, music out on an actual sound system
oh
rather
yeah,
than
yeah,
the puck.
Yep.
The Amazon Show I had, it was okay, but we never used it for the recipe side of things. It was more just timers, because again, that was in the kitchen. But what I did do straight away was turn the webcam bit off, because I wasn't making calls with it. I didn't need it to see me.
yeah,
But it didn't break, but it became pretty useless. It just was really slow. It would freeze. So we've now gone fully Google.
right.
I'm an Android user. My wife isn't. She's an iPhone user, Apple Watch. She's in that ecosystem. But we use Google to manage calendars, emails, all that sort of stuff. Google is our infrastructure for business and stuff. So when we bought this house, we did Google devices around the house. The one thing that I use virtual assistants for the most is routines.
Right.
Which will sort of tie into the other smart devices. So if one of us is going out, it'll arm our alarm system and stuff like that. Granted, you can just get out your phone and press do it. But who doesn't want to, speak to something, I don't know, like freaking Tony Stark and it's Jarvis, and he goes, yes, okay, I'll do that. It's pretty handy. But
do you think, sorry to interrupt,
That's
do you
okay.
think people just do it because of that?
I think they like it as a gimmick. Yeah, sure.
You're like, you can leave the house and press a couple of buttons and set the alarm. And people have done that for decades. Or you get your phone out your pocket, you unlock it, you unlock the assistant and all that. Do you know what I mean? And just for the thing of being able to do it by voice.
Right, but the thing that you're missing there is if you do it right, okay. What you can also do with virtual assistants is I said routines. You can sort of chain a number of events. Now, what if for example, you had several different devices, all using different apps. You didn't set up Google Assistant, for example. Right, I want to turn all my lights off. That's in Hive. I want to turn my heating on. That's in Bosch Easy Control. I want to set my alarm system to lock. Well, that's Google Nest. That's 3 different user interactions. Yeah. Whereas a routine, press it once, do this, right, have a good night. So I think gimmick, yeah, people like talking to stuff, go, oh, look at me, I'm all clever. But in reality, I think if you tie it to an assistant, it can do more with less user interaction, which I think is the bog standard thing that all of these companies are trying to get us to do, is you interact once and it does as much as it possibly can for you.
Yeah. So I guess then that the complication or the thing that as a consumer you then have to be wary of is compatibility, right? Because like you said, you've got 3 or 4 different apps there. You've got different hardware manufacturers, different smart light bulbs, etc., etc. Now, I'm presuming that most of the big brands will work with all of the different assistants, but it's not like a normal light bulb. You just go pick a light bulb off the shelf, and of course it's going to work because you plug it in and it works. It's on or off. If you want a smart light bulb that's going to work for these routines or whatever it might be, does this work with Siri? Does this work with Google or Alexa? There's a lot more from a user point of view.
Yeah, I'm glad you
bear in mind.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the big ones, there's Philips Hue, Hive lights are the 2 that come to mind. We've got Hive because it was a deal with British Gas at the time. We got a free Hive hub and a light kind of thing.
All right.
And we still use them now, but I use mine in a lamp because the lamp's a bit out of the way, so I put a smart bulb in it, and then turn the lamp down and it does it. Obviously, it needs a Hive bulb.
Mm-hmm.
What I've been stung with recently is the whole works with, because it doesn't tell you how it works. Does it work natively or does it need a third-party integration? And we've got a new boiler. We've got a smart control for it. So it's great. You can do it all through the app and you can set all your timers up via an app. But I like the idea of saying, okay, insert assistant here's voice, name, turn the heat on to 20 degrees or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't understand, and I guess this is a failure on the installer who sold it, is it needs to go via a third party. So the manufacturer is Bosch.
Right.
It needs to go through a third party called, I think it's called Tiada,
Right.
which works with Google. So I would now have to, I've set it all up, but I don't use it because I have to go, hey, assistant, talk to Tiada. Tiada then starts on the assistant and goes, hey, what would you like me to do? And I have to go turn the heating on.
Right.
And then there's a delay because it's now talking to Bosch.
Got you.
So for me, I now just use it all by the app. So it really wound me up actually because it's not a cheap investment in the first place. And when you sort of find out it's not as good as you think, Hive is actually really, really good. Google Nest is actually really good. Well, I didn't have really a choice with the boiler manufacturer, but
Well, interesting to talk about Hive because as we're recording, I've got Hive for my heating, and I just use the Hive app. I don't bother with all the Google integration stuff. But as we're talking today, Hive hasn't been working today. If I go
is it
into
on
my
strike? Everything else is.
well, if I go into my app, it's not connecting.
Oh, interesting. Actually, I saw something on Twitter about this.
Yeah, so it's like when you're so used to just being able to open an app to control your heating, now I've got to go and remember how the thermostat works to turn the heating on. Do you know what I mean? I've got where the bloody hell's the thermostat? Why isn't it working?
Right.
The other week I had an issue where, and actually because there'd been an electrician round and he'd been dicking about with the electrics, but everything had come back on, and the little Hive hub that connects to my router to link to the Hive account wasn't logging back in to the Hive web
That's
service,
frustrating.
which means that even though I'm in the house with everything, because the little Hive box next to my router wouldn't connect to the Hive service on the Hive website, the app couldn't control anything. So I've got all the bits of the puzzle in my house,
But they're not talking to each other because the service is failing somewhere.
Because an external service somewhere else. So it's like your internet connection goes down because all of these things rely on connecting to an external service. Even if the bulb is here, your router's here, your phone is here, anything external goes down, you're screwed.
Well, I would disagree on a point with that. So when we moved into this place, completely forgot that we got rid of all our bulbs because we went smart bulbs with a lot of different light fittings. And some of the lights that when we bought this place had lights on it, it's fine. But the lamp didn't. The lamp was a smart bulb. You can use Hive lights as lights, just with power. But you don't have the smart fit. You couldn't change the colour. Whatever is the default, if it's bright white or cool white or whatever.
That's it, exactly.
But I'm glad you mentioned a service going down. So I'll raise you. I'll raise you one. What happened? I'm laughing because it really pissed me off at the time, but now it's funny to laugh about it. What happens when a works with Google provider, so not Google, but the third party that integrates with Google, breaks their own integration? I had that recently.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it in a second, but again, I've mentioned home security. So I had an integration fail because the provider did something. And basically what happened was it stopped a smart device in my home connecting with Google. So if I ran a routine, it would fail. Go, can't connect to blah, whatever it was. And I was like, that's really, really weird because it was working like a day or so ago. And, both Mark and I work in IT. We know a little bit about this stuff, and I thought, well, if this has gone to production, it's gone out live, quite a big thing. So I got in touch with Google and went, oh, by the way, so and so is not working. They ran me through all the steps. Nope, not working. Got in touch with the provider of this particular service, and they were like, oh, it's not us. So well, Google is telling me it's not them. So I'm going to go with it's you, because Google is trying to talk to you, and you're going, Google is saying I can't reach the endpoint, essentially. Anyway, 2 or 3 days went by, maybe a week. A patch came out and it started working again. So my routines just sprung back to life. But you're absolutely right in the sense of if something goes down, the smart stuff is dumb as fuck. And it just doesn't work. The device still worked because I could still connect to that device, not remotely, but via its app.
Yeah, but the whole functionality that you've paid the extra for.
Oh, it falls on its ass straight away.
Yeah. Oh, here's another one, and I can't think of any specific examples, but I'm sure it's happened, and if it hasn't, I'm sure it will. You've got, say you move house or you have a refurb, and you invest hundreds, if not thousands, of pounds in a whole new bit of smart home kit from one manufacturer, and it's all guaranteed it's going to work together, and it's all good, and you've got it set up on your Google phone, it's working with Android perfectly, and then that manufacturer is bought by Apple.
Yeah.
And they go, well, we are now going to make this an Apple exclusive service.
Yes.
Yeah, what then?
Well,
do you know what I mean?
Well, you don't know, do you? And I think that is a massive, massive risk with buying anything that's compatible with and not built by the thing you're trying to work it with.
Yeah, exactly. If it's not made by Apple or Google or
you run
Amazon,
the risk.
There's a huge risk there.
Because what did Nest come from? Google Nest's smart stuff. That was someone, wasn't it?
I think it was. And it's like we talked about earlier on in the quiz. Siri wasn't originally an Apple product; it was a third-party independent app. But this is what happens: they will buy. I'm sure Amazon have done it with some of their smart stuff as well. They will buy a product that looks promising because it's a quick way for them to get the intellectual property and the patents.
Yeah.
And a lot of the hard work has already been done, let's say. And then it's just a case of refining it and making it exclusive.
Well, just to update on the point of Nest, what was it? The fact-checking Alf slid it across the desk to me. Google Nest was Nest Labs, so it didn't change much.
Okay.
But co-founded by former Apple engineers.
Oh, right, okay.
So it's a good job that Apple didn't buy it, because we now got Google Nest. Google Nest is awesome.
Yeah.
But like you say, I think when all this thing was happening with my device at home, which was a smart security-esque thing, I started looking at what Google Nest can do versus what mine currently does. And the one that mine's a free service, and it's very good at what it does.
Yeah.
Google's is paid. That's why I'm like not doing that just yet, even though Google Nest is probably here to stay. So
I think there's obviously the big three are going to be around for a long, long time. But as you say, it's those ones where it's third-party products that are badged with, works with. It's like, well, for how long? What happens when that company's bought out or goes bust or, something else happens?
It raises the fair point of like all this smart connectivity is awesome until something breaks.
It's only smart. It's only smart while there's a connection.
I like that. That's really good.
And then what does it do when there isn't a connection? Then it's just, a £50 light bulb.
Sure. What cost of living crisis?
Well, exactly. You know what I mean?
I don't think that sort of technology has changed my life. I could probably live without it. What's one that you specifically, Mr. Mark, could not live without now? Bar the internet and the obvious stuff.
Well, I mean, look, ultimately, there's nothing you can't live without.
Air?
Well, in terms of technology, I suppose it depends what your class is technology.
Well, quite right. And I think we're going to talk about like IT tech here. We're not talking about
Do
the
you mean
pacemaker and
well, no, or do you mean technology that you use, or the technology that is used to provide other things?
you
So,
specifically. So not like humanity could live without this.
yeah.
I mean, I think the obvious one is a smartphone.
Mm,
I think the way that they've come on in my lifetime
mm-hmm,
is, well, they didn't exist pre me.
mm-hmm.
Mobile phones have been around for decades, but they've all been big, clunky, external battery
Yeah.
fed stuff that would give
Mm-hmm.
you brain cancer.
Mm.
Whereas now they're just really small and still give you brain cancer.
So we're talking here more of a kind of just the convenience thing,
Right.
more
Well,
than.
not even that. I just think the power that is in these small devices these days, or that some of them
Mm,
aren't so small. Looking at you,
mm.
Samsung Ultras. What was like? They had like 215 or 128 kilobytes or kilobytes back in the day or whatever it was.
Mm,
Remember the
mm.
first MP3 players, 150 meg.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
you've got phones now coming out with like a terabyte storage or
yeah, yeah.
whatever, and you think back in the day, a calculator was the most powerful handheld device you could get.
I think, to be fair, I think the smartphone is the thing. I mean, I've just got back from a weekend in London, and being able to, I mean, I didn't use it for a phone call once, but being able to pull up information on what tube line I needed to get somewhere, to then make a booking for a meal, you know, on the website.
Well,
To
this is the thing; they're not just phones anymore, are they? And
That's it.
that's the point we're trying to get at. Or I want to
Yeah.
get at is
So
it's your phone, it's your calculator, it's your alarm, it's
yeah,
your
yeah,
email, it's your computer at times.
yeah.
It's
So yeah,
mental.
I think the smartphone probably is the thing, isn't it? Because it is absolutely everything in your pocket. It's got maps. It's got, obviously pull up Google or whatever search engine. It's got your email, your different apps on there. Things like contactless pay. You just walk onto the underground and just tap yourself through the barrier.
I'm glad you mentioned
Um,
contactless pay because that is one thing I could live without because it's so bloody easy to spend money. But I've recently upgraded my smartwatch to a Watch 5 Pro
okay.
from Samsung, and it's finally got Google Wallet because
Oh
I didn't
right.
want
Okay.
Samsung Pay.
Yeah.
So I've had a smartwatch since 2018, and I love it.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's just made, well, it's not made my life easier, but I look cool because I got a smartwatch. But now the Watch Pro has finally got native Google Play on it,
Okay.
Play Store,
Okay.
sorry, so I can use Wallet. There's a couple of other native Google stuff that now works with Samsung stuff, which is
Well,
great.
I've got a Pixel watch, which just came out last year.
Cool.
And again, yeah, that's again, yeah, Google Wallet's on there and it integrates with your notifications and does all your steps and things.
But you
So,
raise the whole, again, talk about when things don't work with other things.
mm,
So a Samsung Watch would work with any Android phone, I believe.
yes, but there are some Samsung exclusive features that
Right.
only work on Samsung phones.
Correct. A Pixel Watch, can that
Mhm.
work with other phones other than Pixels?
Oh, well, it's Android Wear OS, so it should work with any other Android phone. But
Right.
again, there may be some Pixel exclusive features. But if you've got a Samsung phone, you should be able to pair it with a Pixel Watch without
Right.
any issues.
Because that's where Apple goes, no, it's our ecosystem or bust.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
I like Apple Watches. I say my wife's an Apple ecosystem user. She's got an Apple Watch and it's brilliant. I really like the design. But now, I look at my watch now and it's very similar in terms of the kit that's underneath it. So, but so smartwatches, yeah, they're helpful for productivity, but there are health benefits. Like, for example, mine, I track my walks. I really
Yeah.
like seeing my routes. I don't know why, I just do.
Mm.
I can load a cycle route into my watch and follow it. That's something I'm looking forward to doing when the weather breaks a bit.
Yeah.
They have really kicked the asses of people that want to try and get fit. Fitbit was fantastic at this as well because they were a cheaper alternative to smartwatches.
Yes.
So, I could live without a smartwatch. but I like it.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You're allowed
You
to
know,
like it. Um,
I
I
could
think
live without beer, but I like it.
I think one of the um, most mind-blowing and convenient things that I've had in recent years, and this came first for me on a Windows phone, is wireless charging.
Now, I like wireless charging. I had one of those desk pad things,
Hmm.
well, at some point, but it's. I mean, you might tell me you've got a supercharger one, but I found it just too damn slow for.
Mm.
I'm one of those users that I'll slow charge my phone overnight. I don't use a quick charger because it knackers your battery, but we got USB ports in our power,
Yeah.
and it's a slow charge, so I like that. But
Mm.
my smartwatch is a supercharger.
Hmm.
So this morning I woke up, I looked at my watch, I went, oh shit, I got like 20% battery. Right, okay. Well, I'll bung it on charge while I get myself ready for the day. I'll go get my coffee. Came back charged.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wireless charging, I find it slow.
Okay. Well, I've got fast wireless chargers. Um, I've got them all over the house, and I just love it because it's literally just plunk it down, and even if it's just for 5 minutes, just bit of juice, and then you're off out, and do you know what I mean? Just the convenience of it
Sure.
is just incredible. As I say, I first had it on a Nokia Lumia Windows phone, um, and I was like, "This is
This is
incredible."
game. This is going to change the world.
Yeah, yeah, and that's over 10 years ago, and there are still phones that don't have wireless charging.
Yeah, it's. I like
Um,
it. I tell you where it falls down though is if you have one of those pop sockets.
what? Sorry,
Do you not know what a pop socket is?
no, go on.
So it's a like a sticky uh item that you stick on the back of your phone or case.
Oh, those stupid things.
Well, they're stupid for people that can't hold a phone without using them, which I think is a bit stupid. But where
Yeah.
our use case was, stick them to the back of your phone. It's a dock in the car for maps. I'll link it you because
Oh, right. Okay.
it was for us. It was game changing, and then I realized I couldn't wireless charge,
Right.
so I
Okay.
had
Fair
to.
enough.
Anyway, I digress.
But I think no, I do think wireless charging is. Yeah, the first time I saw that, and I was blown away. And since then, I've had one phone that didn't have wireless charging in it, and it did my head in. So it's just a feature I've always looked for. Um, Basically, it's just an essential feature for me.
That's good to know. I tell you one thing that I'm pissed off that manufacturers started doing because I used it all the time
Mm.
is headphone ports on well mainly smartphones.
Mm.
That did my head in because it's no secret I play music, and when I went to a jam session, I'd plug my phone in to the PA to get backing tracks.
Hmm.
You know, without well, I can't do it now. I have to get a different adapter, which is not the end of the world, but it's
Mm.
quite draining on the battery. So now, well, how do I charge it and play music at the same time? Oh no, bollocks! Bring back the iPod.
Yeah. At first, I was a bit thingy about that because it was like, yeah, I like my headphones and music and all that. But then, to be honest, once I switched to Bluetooth headphones, just not having that fucking cable getting everywhere.
Yeah, but you're missing my use case, Mark, and that's the important bit. I don't care about your Bluetooth.
Well, there we go. Everyone's use case is different, isn't it?
Exactly.
But for me, I get that. I think it's a shame that they've removed it at least as an option, right?
Yeah.
And that you have to get some fucking adapter or whatever. That's a ball ache. For me personally, that it's never bothered me that much. Even with phones that have had headphone adapters, I've used Bluetooth headphones.
Okay.
Um, just because, as I say, if you got to get a phone into your pocket, you got a cable getting caught in your zip and all this kind of thing, just does away with all that. You've just got a lot more. Yeah, you just got
Yeah.
not got cables and wires trailing everywhere. Obviously, that's then an extra thing to charge up.
Right.
Yeah, you need to remember to plug your headphones in. I've now got Google. the Pixel Buds
Oh yes.
things, and they have a case that charges them.
Yeah, I'm a Samsung Buds user at the gym.
So
The,
similar thing, right?
yeah, they can and AirPods for Apple. They're all
Yeah,
they're all very good, to be fair.
yeah.
I
So as long as you
I remember if you remember to charge them. Yeah,
yeah, so plug the case in every now and then to top up the case, and it will keep the earbuds topped up. So
I
that's fine.
prefer Apple's version. I like the AirPods.
Okay.
Because I feel like you're still wearing traditional earphones, whereas the buds and stuff, I don't particularly like sticking things in my ears like that. I know they're
Sure.
not going to go anywhere. I know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even like music earplugs and music headphones, in-ear monitors and stuff, like I got a couple of sets of them, and I just don't like it. It's a bit too intrusive.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah.
2 pieces of tech to just round off before we do call this a day, because we're trying to be more concise. One I want to talk about, which is we definitely could not live without now, because every fucking studio under the sun has one. Streaming. Whether that's Google Cast of your stuff off your phone, Apple AirPlay is also a thing. Streaming in general is, well, it's killing physical media. We know that. We know it is. But it's trying to.
I think there's a couple of things there. I think, yes, on the whole, obviously physical media sales are down. You can't argue with the convenience of streaming.
Until the internet goes down.
Until the internet goes down, right? The downsides are obviously if it's a production, whether it's a film or TV show, by a particular streaming service, the chances of that getting a physical release are vanishingly small. Disney still do it for their movies, and Marvel and Star Wars and Fox movies. Amazon are actually quite good at doing it for their TV shows. They're releasing, like the Jack Reacher TV show.
I've never noticed, to be honest.
Yeah, they do. They do. Certainly in the States, they're releasing Reacher and Jack Ryan on Blu-ray and on 4K
Both
as well.
called Jack?
Yeah. But certainly, we did get some of the Netflix Marvel shows, not all of them. Where the irritation comes in is where it's a licensed show or movie where the rights change hands. So you'll find a movie on Netflix and you'll go, oh, I'll add that to my watch list. And then you go back a month later and it's gone. But you can only now get it on Amazon for $5. You can't view it for free anywhere.
No.
And as you just said at the beginning, every bloody studio is doing it now. So you got Peacock, you got Paramount Plus, you've got Netflix, you've
Disney
got
Plus.
Disney. So it's like
HBO Max.
HBO Max. Yeah, I mean, at the minute, luckily, most of the HBO stuff is still coming in through Sky, but
Now TV, there's another one. Or now,
well,
I'd argue Now was brought into the world out of a necessity for people who weren't paying for Sky packages.
Yes.
I think I haven't used Apple TV Plus as the other. I've not used Paramount Plus yet. I've not had a need, nor HBO Max. But I used to use Now a little bit because used to get free, try free for a month. And you go, right then. By far the worst streaming quality I ever had was through Now.
Oh,
and everyone was like, oh, it's your internet. I was like, well, Netflix is crisp 1080.
Yes.
Why is Now TV pixelated and buffering all the time? What's the difference?
Yeah. And I used it years and years ago for a period, but whether it's any better now, I don't know. But
no, I've just not had the need to use it again.
No, no. There's no. Well, if you've got Sky, you don't need it.
Well, obviously, you'd be an idiot to buy both Now and Sky, Mark. But it's just not a thing. I think the only thing I miss about having a Sky package is the HBO shows. And Sky Atlantic as it would be over here.
Basically, yeah. But again, that's a deal that Sky and HBO made that will run out at some point in the next few years. And so it'll then be a case of
where'd you go then to it? Yeah.
Well, will they renew that deal and keep on Sky in the UK, Or will they go, no, we are now rolling HBO Max out around the world. It's leaving Sky. And I think because I think that brings a lot of viewers in for Sky.
Of
So
course it does.
from Sky's point of view, I think they will still want to do something to keep those viewers. So if HBO launches a UK HBO Max service, I have a feeling that Sky will include it in their packages.
Because they're doing that with Netflix, but they don't have a deal per se with Netflix shows being shown on Sky channels.
No, but you could just link your subscription.
Right.
But they are doing it with Peacock. So you can, if as a Sky
Forgot about
customer,
Peacock.
so as a Sky customer, you can get not all of their stuff, but a lot of the Peacock stuff you can get just as is as a Sky customer. If you subscribe to Sky Movies, you can also get Paramount Plus. So I think there may be a case where even if HBO launches a separate standalone HBO Max service that anyone can get, I think Sky will have some kind of deal where you can get it for less, maybe, as a Sky customer, because it, I think stuff like Game of Thrones and all those
Yeah,
things brought in so many customers for Sky. I don't think they
agreed.
would want to lose that.
No,
That
that's good. Streaming's definitely something I couldn't put down now.
no,
But
there is a convenience factor. I mean, obviously, as I said at the beginning, the physical sales are going down in terms of discs. But I do think what that has done, and again, this is something we have talked about in the past, is you've now got some of these independent labels really pushing the boat out when it comes to some premium releases of physical films.
yeah,
So while the numbers overall might be going down, I think the proportion of 4K deluxe collector's editions, I feel that that's doing really well. Companies like Arrow and Second Sight, etc. You got like 88 films are releasing, and Eureka are releasing so many like Hong Kong action movies. You got the horror films. So, you
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
There's these labels that are going, okay, the big studios are just churning out their bog standard releases, but these are the things that we're going to do some good work on some classic films that you can't get on streaming,
No.
or you'll never get all these extra features. That's one of the things as well,
Oh god.
just just people like Netflix, like Disney, are brilliant at doing like for the Marvel movies
They're
and
not going to
stuff.
shag you, mate.
Oh, I'm hoping, but they're really good.
Oh, come here! What? No, I can't do it. I'm not doing the voice.
They're really good at
You get the
the
assembled.
assembled documentaries.
Right, they're very
And
good at it until it's like half an hour, not an hour and a half, 2 hours. Like they used to be on DVDs.
well, Disney never have been, but yes,
Some have.
some have. I've just been looking at the new Turbine Media German release of The Frighteners in 4K, and that includes the making of the Frighteners documentary that was created for the original special edition Laserdisc back in the 90s. That documentary is 4.5 hours long.
No, thank you.
But
Too long.
maybe so. But that's the kind of stuff that you used to get. You look at the Lord of the Rings documentaries, the Alien
Yeah, yeah.
anthology documentaries, that level just isn't there anymore. Now, Disney are doing some of it with the assembled stuff that released. You can watch the Marvel stuff with the audio commentaries and things like that on, but Netflix aren't. And there's no excuse why they shouldn't. They're putting Netflix on their YouTube channel, are putting on like behind the scenes documentaries on. Or you wouldn't call them a documentary, but they're putting on behind the scenes features
Yeah.
and interviews for Glass Onion or whatever else might coming out. If they can put on 20 different languages on the fucking streaming.
They could include a behind-the-scenes documentary for your
Yeah.
viewing pleasure. Yeah.
Or if Ryan Johnson wants to record an audio commentary, why can't they include that as one of the soundtrack options? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I
think
tell you one thing though, where streaming has gone out of hand is they were, it was an alternative to a cable satellite subscription. Whereas now it's gone the complete. They've literally become what they said they'd destroy, and I don't like the fact that Disney's what £59.99 British pounds a year. Granted, to some people that's an extortionate amount. I mean, I appreciate that.
I actually think Disney are the best value.
Well, no, that's not what I was going to get at. I was just thinking,
on.
if you have Netflix, which is what what's the bog standard Netflix these days? $6.99 a month,
something like that. Yeah.
So you're looking at over £70 a year. If then you add Disney onto it because you do have kids, that's over £100 a year. Then you don't have Sky, but you have Now TV.
Yeah.
You're easily clocking up £150 plus a year. Again, to some people, that's a drop in the ocean. To some people, that's a massive amount of money. And we're not trying to say that's easy money for anyone. But you have to have a service for this, for that, for this, for that. Give the gas. It's really, really, really annoying me these days. I've got Netflix. Oh, Prime. We didn't even talk about Prime. But I've got Prime for the delivery side of it.
Well, that's why it can be difficult to compare them. I think you're right about Netflix. That they start from £5 a month, which is ad supported. That's their latest option.
I like that as a thing. I do.
Yeah, and then it goes up to £16.99 a month, which is the Ultra HD. Okay. Now, if you're with, all right, so you've got some options. Disney, it's a single price, and if your devices support 4K, you get 4K. Brilliant. So I think in overall value terms, that's possibly the best one. With Prime, you're right. What makes it difficult to compare on Prime is you're paying not just for a streaming service, you're paying for the
delivery, music,
cloud
storage,
cloud. So it's like whether or not you use all of those things is one thing, but in terms of the amount of things you get for the money, that's good value.
No, and I agree. I was just trying to make the point of every studio has a service these days, and it just does my head in. That's all, and it's expensive. It all adds up very quickly.
It is, because the whole point. You're right. The whole point originally was so you can get rid of Sky now because you can get all your movies and everything on here.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but yeah, if each one, let's say the average price is a tenner. Let's say it's £8 each, right? So that's Amazon, Disney, Netflix, Peacock, Paramount. That's 5. That's £40 a month. Then you've got Now, because you got rid of Sky, but you will want to watch some of the Sky channel, so that's another tenner. That's £50 a month. There'll be some one-off sporting stuff, maybe if you want to watch the movies or the sports,
footy ball or whatever,
football. So you'll have like your Now TV sport package.
BT Sports, don't forget that summer exclusive to Prime or BT.
There's another £5. There's another tenner. You're paying you've got rid of Sky to save yourself £50 a month.
In fact, paying £60.
But now you're paying £80.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And it doesn't even take into account your broadband or your phone subscription.
Yeah.
It's mad.
It is mad.
But I really like Netflix. That's my bottom line.
Fair enough.
But one last thing to wrap up before we go.
Yes.
Remember like 3D home cinema. Now I don't think that was brilliant, but one thing that the internet, well, it's not the internet, but one thing that a certain company is flogging and still flogging, and I don't know why, is VR and metaverse stuff. So I used to have an Oculus Quest. I actually got rid of it 2-3 weeks ago.
Right.
Because they emailed me saying that they are stopped supporting. I can't remember what the email was. I think they stopped supporting the original Quest in maybe it's January 24. But I went shit, I don't use this thing, and if I still don't use it and I wait a little bit longer, it's going to be a very, very expensive paperweight.
Yeah.
So I traded it into CX, KEX, however you want to pronounce it, and I got a good deal for it.
Mm-hmm.
Prices have now plummeted. I'm quids in, but anybody else who just has this thing because it was the thing to do at the time, it's shit. But the whole metaverse thing, I think it's just another place for creeps to hang out. It was Habbo, it was 4chan. It's
Second Life.
Second Life. This is a thing
that never took off.
Right, exactly, and there's a reason behind it. It's Facebook. Facebook bought Oculus. I had all these great plans of plugging my Oculus into my computer, my gaming PC, and playing VR games. And then I realised you just look like a bit of a wanker. Sat with a visor on, and I don't know. And I wear glasses, which doesn't help. So you're already wearing lenses on top of lenses in an enclosed space. And yeah, some of the games are fun, but they're trying to turn it into a social media. And I just think it's a dangerous, dangerous thing. Because we don't spend enough time in the outside world as it is. And I'm not an outdoorsy person per se, but I appreciate going out and seeing friends in a different environment than on Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or whatever. But what I think is a dangerous thing now is kids are buying these units and sitting in these rather than going out. Or even playing on the Xbox is a bit more going on than sitting with a screen an inch away from your eyes.
Yeah. I just that stuff has never been anything I've been interested in at all.
It does surprise me because you could literally watch a movie that looks like an IMAX screen. Sounds a bit shit, mine, I suppose.
Yeah, but it's just never been, and I've never been into 3D stuff.
Like still now, if you went to an IMAX, would you go IMAX 2D?
Yeah, every time, absolutely every time. Can't stand 3D.
That's curious.
3D. If you look at the history of 3D, it's always been a gimmick that's come in when studios have felt threatened. In the 50s.
Are you listening, James Cameron?
Well, here we go. In the 50s, you had a lot of 3D movies because TV was taking off. Just at the same time, they introduced widescreen as well. That was a big thing in the 50s. They introduced widescreen because TV was taking off and taking viewers away from cinemas. In the 80s, you had a lot of 3D horror movies and stuff because home video was coming in and keeping people out of the cinema.
Never thought of it like that, mate.
And then go back 10 or 12 years ago, avatars and that huge big push for 3D. It was because streaming was coming in. People could get 4K, or at least back then, at least Blu-ray quality streaming or pirating easily and quickly from home. So again, it's a way of giving them something they can't get at home. It's always been a gimmick. It's come in cycles. It's been a gimmick when studios have felt threatened. And now, Avatar 2 is the first big 3D release in quite some time. All right, Marvel have put their stuff out in 3D, but it's felt half-hearted. It's not been like the main attraction, right? You don't get the 3D Blu-rays anymore.
No, that's a good point.
The only reason Avatar's in 3D is because James Cameron wants it in 3D.
Yeah.
Basically, it's as simple as that. It's just the studios have always used 3D as to combat what they see as a threat at the time.
Oh no, it's good to know.
Whereas now, because the studios have all got their own streaming services, home viewing isn't a threat anymore. Because they release them on at the same fucking day anyway.
Oh, God.
So they're not losing. They might not have people paying to watch it in a cinema, but they are having people pay to watch it at home. So now that home viewing isn't threat anymore. It's simply another route to market for them.
I wish I'd mentioned it now.
But you've learned something. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
And to be honest, I think we should thank our listeners if they're still listening after this mammoth episode. I didn't think it would go on this long, but granted, there's a lot of tech that we've discussed. There's more that we could have talked about, but thankfully we didn't.
Android Auto.
Good for you. They stopped.
Brilliant.
They turned off that app, didn't they? I thought the app is no more.
I know it works. I plug my phone into my car and it works.
So, I can't believe you threw a topic in as I was closing up, but I don't have. So I've got well, not an old car, but it's an older car.
Yeah.
So I have a Bluetooth device that is powered by my cigarette lighter, which then is auxed into my car. So I got Bluetooth
All
in
right.
the car.
Yeah.
Not got a screen, so my phone docks in a sat navy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, years ago there was an Android Auto app which you would turn on, and obviously you get a good UI that's good for driving.
Oh, right.
You're talking about integrated, like say, what's it, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so an integrated
right.
one.
So
There
it's
used to
not
be an app.
Right. So yes, there was like an Android driving mode app
Exactly.
for the phone. Yes, which would be like
so
a simplified interface.
I'm looking at the Google Play Store now.
Yeah.
Apparently, it still exists.
Yeah. That's like a simplified interface for your phone. What I'm talking about is Android Auto, where you either plug in or connect wirelessly
And that is
to the car,
awesome.
and that's got your screen on your dashboard. Basically, then is your phone.
Yeah.
So you got Spotify, Google Maps. It pops up with notifications if you want. You can like use voice to reply to messages. Your phone book's on there. All of that stuff.
It is pretty cool, but I thought the app
Really
was
slick.
discontinued for some reason. But
no,
clearly
it's
still
a different
there.
app, different thing. But that is just fantastic. That is fantastic. Again, the car I've got at the minute is the first one I've had with Android Auto, and it's 100% essential for the next car I get.
Good for you. Well, as I said, thanks for listening to the Culture Trumpet podcast. I've been Dan. He's been Mark. If there's any tech that you can't live without, or you disagree with anything we said, let us know. User engagement, content. And
Not that we'll listen, but
well,
let us know.
one of us might. Spoiler alert: it's not Mark. And we'll be back at some point with either another topic or some other random crap that we fancy talking about.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, 2023, baby.
Yeah.
That was quite exciting for you. Cool. All right, nice one, listeners.